Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to an exhilarating game here at the Boston Garden. We'll get you straight to the action. I'm your announcer, Mickey Spikes. Right now, we see the white man dribbling the ball. He passes to another white man, who passes to another white man, and the white man shoots. The white man misses, and the white man rebounds. Then he dribbles around another white man. He does another pass to another white man, and rebounded by the ape.
Spears and Steinberg.
You know what the it is?
Aries and Andy. Chew and the jerk.
You know it's time to get this work.
The real raw, gutter, uncut, cold. No political corrections.
Always sleep.
Being awoke. We discuss politics and jokes.
Scribe, we lit.
There's levels to this before you was on your mama.
Aries Spears don't give a fuck.
We talk about race a lot, racism. Much love to my loyal bag holders.
Rollers, loaders.
We got them in the folders.
The whole world on our shoulders.
Spears and Steinberg.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting in this one because I did take this note, and for what you just said, the writers were calling it. They talk about this in this episode: African handball.
African handball. Well, I'm telling you, boy, these white folks just can't help but knock the spit out of us every chance they get.
Dude, you know what's really weird about this? And listen, I hate to start off this way but I know we're going to get into it, and it's going to be long anyway. But they're talking about the writers and talking about the league is black and black and black. And I was looking at one of the writers, and it was Father something something. Mm-hmm. He's a father, so he's a priest.
Oh, I thought you meant father and...
No, father...
Like, as in kids.
Yeah, no, father, Meckle, whatever. This, listen...
This is a man of God.
Well, and probably, it's a white Irish city, right? So probably Irish priest.
Father McFoley.
And what is it that religion... white religious people... And especially at that time, and black. What was that? It seemed that there was a big that I wasn't alive. But
we just want to keep the white skin pure, We can't mix with the apes and the monkeys and the gorillas.
But the reason I have this, it doesn't that go against everything that is about being Christian.
Well, son, it says in the Bible that be cast and be gone all the niggers and the.
Okay.
It actually says it in the Bible, son. It's a very famous passage. Be done and be away from all the and the baboons and the chimps and the apes. They're not good people, son. All they do is mongrels. They come into the community and they taint it with the brown.
This is just it. When I saw Father on there, and you're gonna, if you're watching this or haven't watched it and you see it. They didn't address it in this doc, but they zoom in to one of the articles and they show, and the name is right there. Father's. I didn't even write his name down. Because I was baffled by it.
Honey, get the kids. We're going to see the African handball. The African handball. We're going to see the monkeys do what they do. Even though Red drafted black players for the purpose of winning, does it change the impact that outside of basketball, he didn't want to deal with race head on? And because there's like 3 Boston journalists in this that I've seen in other documentaries about Lakers Celtics,
and they are the whitest.
Oh Jesus, they got colonial teeth, like Dennis. This one dude, I can't remember his name, but that got colonial teeth.
Dude, I just thought that was funny, especially the two. They're always on TV, but I'm going to try to pull them up right now. But keep going.
But he said, he was like, Red he never tackled race head on. Even in Kuzi said towards his retirement, he said, I wish I had done more in regards to Russell. And Russell said, I didn't need you to do more. I didn't want you to do more. I'm a man. I can take care of myself.
But see, I find this interesting because this is an area that I did want to go into a little bit because one of the things that I've been told by activists, black activists, is that listen, you're not here.
Stay away from the fight, white boy.
Yeah, you're not here to do my job. You're here to make sure that your people understand. Get your people to understand. I'm going to go do my job, but you here to hold them accountable for what they do wrong or to what isn't correct.
Have you been doing a good job?
Yeah, man.
All right.
A lot of people on this podcast don't think so. But so I understood that. And Red, though, I disagree with that because Red, I disagree with the fact that this, I think in any time that there's change, let's take basketball, for instance. Everybody has a position to play. I think Red's position, what did he really have that he could do to make change? And one of the things he could do is draft black players. He could put black people, black person, make them a coach.
I never thought about it like that.
He could do all the things that he did. He changed the name from Boston on the uniform to the Celtics. So he was very aware, but he played his position.
You know, I would often say that when you hear players often, and let's be honest, because the sports are predominantly played by black players, particularly basketball and football, you always hear young players almost refer to their coach as like father figures. You know, he's like a father to me. It's like they teach you about life, not just the game. They show you they care. And I go, yeah, but if you weren't who you were and you didn't have that level of talent, do they really give a shit about you? Or do they give a shit about you because you're gonna help them win, in which they help, which causes them to get the big paycheck they get? So like with Red Auerbach, I'm going, did you really care about, or you just was doing what you needed to do to be a successful franchise? But when you put it the way you put it, yeah, that is, he could choose not to.
Yeah, he can make it easy on himself. And if there's white players against white players, that isn't going to change much for him.
Right.
But I think his willing to win is also something that he realized. But how many white coaches knew that they could draft this player who might be a black player, and he's probably the best player on the board, but went with the white player because it was just easier for him. So Red did take a more difficult path. Even if there was benefit to it, but there was also the negative side because we don't see, as you just brought up on that on the baseball one with Jackie Robinson.
Right.
We don't.
Ricky was his name.
Ricky.
Ricky something.
Yeah, but we don't know what the reaction, what letters Red got, how Red was treated either. No one talks about. He never brought that up. So when you say and even Bill Russell says he didn't. He seemed oblivious towards maybe some of the things that the athletes had to go to, but that wasn't his job. Right. He really focused on. This is as far as I can go. I can take you this far. I can't do any. This is where. But I'm doing my part. Right. I really thought of him because as I'm watching this, he never strays from what his job is, which is basketball. What can I do to make the changes? But when I saw him change the uniform, I was like, okay, there's something more to this. He understands this more than what he let on. Right. And I don't think that it wasn't he understood it. I think that he kept it in the framework of what his job was, that he could do, what he could affect.
Right. I think it was Bobby Ricky. Was it Bobby Ricky? Oh, it was 42, and I was saying 41.
41, yeah.
It's 42. Jackie Robinson's number was 42.
Bobby Ricky, that sounds right.
Does that sound?
Or is that
right?
Ricky Bobby that we're thinking?
No. I think that one is the movie with Will Ferrell.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said. I think we're thinking that. I'm gonna look at
cast of 42 because it's killing me. Branch Rickey.
Okay.
Branch Rickey.
Well, we don't have the number right. We didn't have the name right.
But that's
We're consistent.
Mark, where the are you at?
We have Josh here today.
Yes, the fill-in.
He's Mark's backup, but he doesn't do the computer stuff. We don't have him do everything because you're not as gullible as Mark.
Can you imagine Branch Rickey trying to ask a woman for head? I'm gonna pull out my penis. I want you to put it in your mouth. I remember when you and I were talking boxing early in the podcast, Matter of fact, I think we were talking when we talked about the 70s. And I said, dude, if I could go through a time machine, that was one of the decades I wish I could experience in my prime. And after seeing this, dude, I went, if I could go in a time machine, I would have loved to have been in my 20s or 30s and experienced the Boston Garden.
Yes.
The old Boston Garden. Because when they were showing some of those clips, dude, that was back when you could smoke in the arena and a dude lit up a cigarette. And it's just, it was that, how wild the fans were. Dudes with their shirts open and their chest and stomach all out. And again, this is why I tell people, yo, man, the 80s was a different animal. This was before political correctness, wokeness. There's kids in the arena. And dudes is up there with their cigarettes and their bellies out. Shoot the ball. Oh, man, what a time. I wish I could have experienced that, man.
That's something different, man. And they talk about that. They talk about the floor comes up several times, but there's actually the league. They try to get, I think the teams went to the league to try to get them to change their court, and they wouldn't do it. Red wouldn't change the court because they were offering to pay for the court to be changed. And they're like, nah.
Well, plus, that's where Red, who would never claim it, but claimed it, where he would pull his shenanigans, no air conditioning for the opposing team. Again, their show where the floor was so old that part of it was up, so you might with the dribble or something. And yeah, man, it wasn't to the other team's advantage to play at the Boston Garden.
But they're all playing on the same court. So,
yeah, but when you know where the tricks are, you work around that. You know how to adjust.
Yeah, but when you're forced into a place on the floor, you don't always have the ability to adjust. I'm just saying, yes, it's to their advantage because they know that floor.
Yeah.
But they're all playing on the same floor.
Right.
Were you ever a Boston fan? Did you ever have any love for Boston ever?
Listen, dude, again, I didn't fall in love with basketball until I've discovered Michael Jordan.
Oh, so you weren't a Magic or Bird fan. You didn't
I didn't care about basketball at all. But then once I caught wind of Michael, I became a Bulls fan, and I became a basketball fan.
Okay. I was definitely I think I...
And Jordan was 90s. So by that time, I was 15. 80s, early 80s, I was sticking 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say that I was a more of a Lakers fan. But I was a Suns fan, and I love Larry Bird's game. But I remember rooting for the Lakers, and I was also a Pat Riley fan.
Right. So they talked about, how after immediately after Dr. King's assassination, and rightly so, the country was in chaos, angry chaos. And the thing was, they were going, should the players play? Should or should they sit out? And of course, they felt like they should play because it'll bring calm to the city and give people a chance to escape from the horrors of that reality. And even if it's for however long a game lasts, it'll bring calm to the city because they can focus on the game and not what just happened. And again, this is one of those things where I go, is it really about doing what's best for the moment, or is it that the owners want that money? And I guess if it brings about a chance to stop chaos, does it matter? You know what I mean? Like, is this really about, wanting to do right for the city, or is this the owners going, man, f that, get this money?
I don't know. I really, one game out of a 82 game season, I don't think is and they're going to replay the game anyway. They're going to do it at a different date. They would just move it on the calendar. So I don't think it's about the money. I think that they realize the city. I do think it's for the city, but I like when Russell said, he was conflicted.
Yeah.
And he said, so we're going to send 13,000 people that are in that stadium. Yeah. All those people out in the street. Like, first of all, this is already happening. Now they're here, and now we're going to say we cancel the game, and now they're all going to leave that stadium and go onto the street. And what's going to happen at that point? I thought his realization of like we're not just it's not that we're going to cancel the game and people aren't here. We're going to cancel the game and now we're going to send them on to it's already a heated situation and they're all going to be on the street.
Yeah.
And isn't that going to just boil over to even more problems? I think that was the I think for Russell, especially because of his connection to King, I think that was the what the thought was. I'm not going to send these 13,000 people out into the street because that's just going to add to what's also on the street.
Do you see the humanity in not just Bill Russell, but in black people in general, where we have every reason to be angry and be vengeful, but that's the kindness and the good heart that has always been in us. Because even, again, Bill Russell, a man whose home was broken into and someone defecated in his bed. So he hated Boston so much that he didn't want a retirement ceremony in front of the city. He wanted it privately with it amongst his guys.
His peers.
So here's a dude who has every reason to go, F you. And the mass majority of the people in that crowd are going to be white. But he had the wherewithal to go, no, let's play the game so that we don't send these people out in the streets for potential danger.
And cause more chaos and more problems.
That's why again it baffles me when there's this stereotype about black people that we're these savages, we're these animals, we're the people to be feared, when we're the people who should be angry and tearing shit up based on what has happened to us. But yet our humanity flows, our humanity shows.
I want to say this right, and I don't know how to say it right now. I agree and disagree with you so much on this right now because, first of all, Russell's intelligence was the reason that he never looked at it that way. He hated Boston because it represented the segregation and what that caused. But he never blamed white. He blamed the idea of white Boston, but not white people, because every person was different. He understood that he had different relationships with other people. It doesn't take away from the fact that it's enough of a reason to if you're going to hate, that's a reason. But they're giving him a reason. Yeah, but the reason that white people have put this out, have these fears, is brought up in this. In this doc, and I saw it, and I don't know if it was in if it's in 2 or if it's in 3. When does he become coach? In 2 or 3?
I think 3.
In 3, we'll have to skip to it. They skipped around too, so we'll have to skip around on a few. Right. So it's when they name Russell coach. Yeah. And the reporter asked him, he goes, as the coach, do you think you're going to have any reprisals, or or do you think you're going to do anything? How do we know that you're not going to have anything that's reversed as far as I can't quote it.
It's like are you going to be able to coach white players and be fair to them?
Yes, and not have any of the reverse of what. Yeah. But what he's saying is what is not being said is, I'm a white guy, and I fear that the things that we have done to you.
That's what Farrakhan said on Donahue.
Yeah, that you're going to put on us. And that's what the fear is. And that's what the fear is, because white people know it's deservingly so. It's deservingly so, because the reaction is, if I slap you, you're going to slap me. And that's what they're looking for. And like you said, though, that hasn't been the case. And I don't understand why.
It's like Patrice's joke when he goes, when Barack became president, I thought we was going to have Vengeance Day. I thought I would have a white slave by now. I'm mad at him because I don't have a white slave.
So that being said, I think that was especially then. I'm not saying, again, I have a problem as we have more information, more docs, more. I feel that a lot of the history renews some of the issues that we have, and we're looking at a lot of things from the lens of yesterday, today. And I'm not saying that it's perfect today by any means whatsoever, but is it 1960? Is it 1958? Is it? It's not. It's not. And Boston is not that same place. But I remember being in Boston in the 80s, and I remember how the cab drivers in the 80s were still those. Listen, man, I'm not trying to with Irish people run this right now, but the Irish cab drivers, those hard ass Irish cab drivers were they were dicks, man.
Right.
They were dicks, and you know, they had no problem telling you. Yeah. I said, oh, I was surprised you were. I said one time to this cab driver, he goes, oh, if you were another half a block that way, I wouldn't have gone over there. I'm not gonna, I'm not going over there. That's where I'm not picking up blacks. And they were. I mean, that's that city, and that city was. The truth is that was how the city worked.
Yeah,
I'm not. There's nothing to be proud of. Boston has to deal with that themselves, and they know that the history. But if I'm looking at it, and when you see players come in today that are still saying, I was nervous when I came to Boston, and it went all the way. When what's his name, the dunk champion, he's in this. Is it D Brown?
D Brown,
yeah. Man, and they didn't bring it up in this doc. They brought it up that he came there, but I don't think that they said it the same way it happened. The day he drove in, I think
the cops pulled him.
The day he drove in, I don't think they said it that it was the day he came to Boston. Not his first day, his first hour in Boston.
Got him out the car, put him face down, put the cuffs on him, and a pedestrian passed by and went, "That's D Brown who plays for the Celtics."
That was the first hour that he had been in the city.
Right.
I don't know. I don't remember if they addressed how welcome.
Right.
That's how soon it was. So it was still that was still hovering over the city.
Yeah. You could see the pain on his face and hear it in his voice. Jerry West, man, when he talks about how much they got beat by the Celtics. And there was the one game where it looked like they were going to win the championship. And they had the balloons ready to go and the confetti. And I think it was that same player you mentioned with the glasses, the black dude. Satch. He basically said to Russell and the team, yo, they got balloons in the thing and confetti ready to drop. And that made them go, oh, hell no. And, of course, they beat them. And they didn't win the championship. And I wrote, not sure if you believe in boogeyman type, but the Lakers with the celebration pamphlets and the balloons was just asking to be beat.
Oh yeah,
it's like, listen, and if they would have won, then yeah, they would have went. Where's the balloons and the confetti? But it's almost like, how do you celebrate before you celebrate, even though there's a chance you're going to celebrate? Is it wrong to do that? Because if you win and you go, man, we didn't prepare for it and we should have because we won.
I think you prepare for it where people don't see it. Number one. Number two, there's coaches that they'll be pissed. Like if there's champagne, don't put the champagne into the locker room. Do not put the champagne in the locker room is like the curse of the game because that's how you counted those chickens before they hatch, right? So don't put those into the locker room. So that I know is part of like some coaches because sports people are kind of superstitious though too.
I can understand.
Yeah, so you don't do like that. I think that I really think that Jerry West suffered some like serious PTSD from his loss. I think that he was. I think that he was. They say that he could get very angry, like he was, but he cursed harshly, and I think it has a lot to do with the losses. I really do. I think that when you see him talk and his face, there is, and when he's talking, Red. I didn't care about Red.
Right.
Coach, what did Coach have to do with it?
Right.
He is just that never went away.
It's funny when we were watching Winning Time, they painted a picture of him that was so surprising because prior to Winning Time, anytime you saw Jerry West in interviews or on camera, he wasn't that guy. Quiet, stoic, very gentleman manner-like. And now in this doc, when he says I went, that's him. That is him.
And other people have said, no, that is him. Now, he's the mixture of the two, but when it became emotional for him, I think all those emotions of losing, and you could really see, you really sense the passion of those losses.
Dude, they should bring back brothers. Well, now you couldn't do it now because the chains are too long. But back in the 70s and 80s, brothers wore them chains that was damn near like choker necklaces. Used to play with chains on.
Yeah.
They should bring that back.
Ooh.
As long as they're choker, they should let niggas play with
Well,
chains again.
now they're wearing the real thick ones with the diamonds encrusted.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't do it now because the chains are too thick and too long. They hang down to the belly button. But back then in the 80s, when the chains damn near choked you, played with chains on. There's that one dunk that Jordan does where he cradle rocks it and he's got the gold chain on. Yeah. Oh man, that's that 70s cool. That 80s cool. You know what I wish they would have done in this doc? The guy that stabbed the black man with the flag.
Yeah.
Interview him. Where is he now?
Oh, he's he's deep undercover.
I would have loved if they would have found him. Because listen, maybe people change. Maybe he went through a metamorphosis and went, wow, I was really on one with that. That was wrong. And he became a better person. I would have loved if they would have at least reached out to that guy. Find out if he's changed.
I don't. That's a really good question. Really, where is this guy? That would be the interview of the century.
Right.
What happened to that's such a famous photo.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question though. It's a very famous photo.
Like that's almost so famous that it would be like his grandkids could go, "Is that really you, Grandpa?"
Yeah. Would you want that photo?
If I was the guy that did the stabbing?
No. Would you want the photo? Like it's a very rare photo. It's the photographer was in the right place, got that photo. It's a very historic photo.
Yeah.
Would you want that photo? Like if you had it, would you want it? Would you keep it? If someone gave you the photo, would you want it?
I guess, to say I have a piece of history. Other than that, I don't have a personal tie to it. Other than to say, okay, I got a piece of history.
But it's kind of the reality check to America, though, isn't it?
Very much so.
So would you? This is my question. I asked myself that question. If I had the opportunity to have that photo, would I want it?
But I was thinking when you were asking that, you're asking as though you're saying, if I'm the photographer that took it, do I want it?
No.
If I'm the guy that stabbed the guy, do I want it?
No, I'm asking you. You yourself.
Me personally.
Would you want to have that photo?
I don't know. I just don't know what purpose it serves me.
I don't either. But what I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this is like a point in America that really, like, this captures a moment that is undeniable.
So do lynching pictures. I don't want those.
But there are people. There are, and I'm not saying there are probably some white people that have a collection of those.
That's so horrific.
But there's a very famous book of these lynching photos
by Bill Duke. Yeah.
Okay, so it's an important historic archive.
So let me ask you: if you had that photo, where do you hang that?
I don't know. Like in a library, and if I was
because if someone comes to your house, especially black, they're going to go, why do you have this?
And I looked at you and I said, it's the most critical moment, I think, captured in the civil rights movement in America. And I think it's a moment where when you see a white dude with an American flag, I don't know that there's a moment that I can take historically, visually, that sums up the moment better than that.
You know where you hang it? You hang it in your guest's bedroom above the bed. So when your black company comes over to spend the night, you go, this is your room.
You're making it very funny, and I agree. I just emotionally, I don't know if I could handle having it, but I understand the history and why that's such an important photo. Right. But it was just, to me, I was like, what do you do with that?
Right.
Because when that guy is showing the negative,
yeah,
and they're showing it, I mean, it's like, I don't know, like it's like how do you like you just said, how do you interpret that? Like if you came over a white guy's house and he had it, would you go, oh, he really understands that moment, or do you go,
it's a what the moment? I'm going, why do you?
But it says everything in that photo. And that poor dude, and when he's talking about it, he wasn't even meaning to be there. He just had walked out of City Hall, and he happened to run into the crowd that's that. And you know, when you think about it, if he didn't do that, and I mean, I don't recommend it, but then there's a picture like that's not captured because a black dude was not gonna go in the middle of that right there. That picture is captured that he accidentally walked into that area. That dude has that flag, and he is in such rage. He takes an American flag, and as his spear is coming out at him, and I don't know where he hits him because I don't think
it was like the ribs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he broke his nose, though, is what he's saying, too. Got
Right.
broken. So I don't understand the aftermath. All we can see is that picture. Doesn't that kind of sum up that moment? Like a moment in time?
I get what you're saying. I totally get
But what do
you're
you do
saying.
with understand? What would you do with that? If someone gave that to you, what would you do with that photo?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know where I'm hanging that because it's a conversation piece, and you got to explain yourself. You know what I'm saying? You can't just put that in your crib and
Just leave it up there for people to interpret on their own?
you got to explain yourself. I kind of alluded to this before, but it was like now I see why they stopped letting fans storm the court. They said at one point, and this is during the 80s, a fan was so upset about how he called the game that they assaulted the ref.
Oh yeah, because that could have changed.
It
the
was
game.
the Sun Celtics playoff
Yes.
game, yeah. That's when I went, dude. The 70s and 80s was literally the Wild West. Fans approaching players, climbing on top of the backboard after a championship win, storming the court, smoking in the arena, guys with their shirts unbuttoned, with their man tits and bellies hanging out. There was really no code of conduct. And there was that one moment where just before the Celtics are about to win, Larry Bird is at the free throw line, and the guy comes up next to him and grabs his arm, and Larry kind of like, off me. And I'm just going, what was the NBA thinking? What were you thinking? To just allow fans to storm the court. Do you know how dangerous that is for the fans? And there's that infamous shot where when the Celtics win it, and kind of remember how we laughed at the moment in Rocky II when he's running and the kid gets trampled. When the minute the fans stormed the court, you could see Larry fighting to get out of there and push his way out of there.
There's an interview, I don't know if it's in this doc or in another one, where Larry said, yeah, he just knew that the second it was over, he was just running. 'Cause he knew what was going to happen.
Right.
But also the idea that the players could punch a fan.
Right. It was Wild West.
But remember, this game, and we didn't talk about this in the very first place, but the NBA was an afterthought. It was hockey, and they just needed to fill dates. So basketball fell into the league. It wasn't like they thought this was going to be something.
Listen, at the height, and that's why I'm going, it's a good thing they stopped doing this. But as a matter of fact, I even think, no, they didn't do it in 91 when Jordan won at the Forum against the Lakers. But can you imagine at the height of Michael Jordan's superpowers, if they let fans storm the court, all the people that would want to touch him, the women that would want to grope him, like it would be hysteria.
No, it had to end by that time because that was. But see that was the Jordan phenomenon because Jordan couldn't go. Jordan's part of the reason why they didn't stop flying commercial because too many people would come up at the airport.
Right.
But
early in Jordan's career, they flew commercial.
But
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why they had to stop it because they became too big. But going back to that game, the no call. The one where Silas asked for a timeout and they don't give it to him. The referee just ignored him.
Right.
And so that should have been a free throw.
Right.
And the Suns end up losing that game in a triple overtime. I don't even remember how many overtimes it was. But and that one annoys me because that one really gets me because just the Suns have a shot at winning that game.
Right.
And winning the series. So that one still hurts because the Suns, my team, has never won an NBA championship.
You know, I always talk about how funny Charles Barkley is unintentionally. Charles, when he wants to be funny, can be funny, obviously. But then there's an unintentional funny to Charles. And I remember I was watching.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, come on, guys. Come on, man. I remember I was watching TNT recently, and he just said it, not trying to be funny at all. It was almost like a throwaway. But he was talking about his basketball days. He said, yeah, I got arrested 17 times for punching out fans. I got arrested 7 times for beating up my fans. And it's just like, again, that time, that era, you know what I mean? Where it just was like, as you mentioned, hitting fans. Like, Barkley just didn't give a I don't know why I brought that in, but
the reason I think you got to Ron Artest kind of and crew kind of ruined the punching fans because they went deep into the stands.
Yeah,
but I think Rodman kicking the
cameraman.
Yeah, that kind of that ended. That's when it kind of all ended. Plus, they had money now. Before when you didn't have a lot of money, if you gave someone a forearm shiver, what were they going to get out of you?
Right.
You didn't really have money to go after.
Yeah.
You made a living. You didn't make money.
Yeah.
So now this is lawsuits, and they can sue the NBA because now the NBA has a lot of money too. And so it's about lawsuits. This isn't about protection of the fans. It's about lawsuits.
So we're on the episode 4, and I think this one was specifically called the Celtics. But I love how, and this is now we're talking about the Bird era, and I love how Spencer Haywood describe both Magic and Bird's play. He goes, it was like musical jazz. It was like before them, it was da da da.
Yeah.
But when they came, it was and I mean, it just, again, this is why I'm going, I wish I could go into a time machine, because whatever it is you get from watching a clip, watching TV, I don't know why, but there's a different magical aura in person. And to see Magic on the fast break doing Showtime in person, I could imagine. To see some of the shit that Bird did in person, I think it would give you a deeper appreciation for it. Because I appreciate the clip. I'm going, ooh, on the clip. To imagine seeing that in the heat of the moment, being a part of it, smelling the Boston garden, the air, the energy you feel from the people going nuts. Oh, my God.
I think that is just the Boston Garden, going back to what you're saying, though, and this is also about the people of Boston. Right. Could you imagine being on a hot summer day in a room with no air conditioning?
Well, that part couldn't have been pleasant.
But that's what they did.
Right.
And they just went in there and they're like, okay, give me a hot dog. Not a fancy whatever we have today. A hot dog. Give me a hot.
And you eating it next to it with his belly out. I'm telling you, man, I'm getting the T-shirt made. 80s, built 80s tough.
Tough, man.
And, as they're talking about Bird and Magic, and I just went, this is one of those things, again, where I sway, because 1 minute, depending on my mood and my feeling and my experience, I go, man, there ain't no God. And then, depending on my mood and the timing and the experience, I go, it's got to be a God, man. Because I go, doesn't it feel like there are certain things in life that are just preordained and destined? Because Magic could have ended up on the East Coast, Bird on the West, because Magic could have, ended up on the East Coast, Bird on the West Coast. Maybe they both ended up on the same coast together. But the fact that they played on opposite coasts and were the two superior players, it's just destiny.
On teams with the biggest rivalries.
With the biggest it just, like, how does that happen? How in the cosmic universe does that happen? That's got to be some sort of godlike, all right, well, let me shake shit up. Let me watch what I'm going to do now. Magic, the superior black. And again, the black and white factor. The top black dude versus the top white dude. East versus West. Celtics, Lakers. Who makes that?
Let me ask you this question, though, because now I'm asking you this question and very pointedly asking you this as a black man. Do you think that now the league is predominantly black by the time Magic and Bird get into the league? And there's no question that the black players are obviously outplaying the white players, and everybody feels that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was fair to Larry Bird? Do you think that there was an extra put on him being that white guy in the league? Because
I think it wouldn't have been fair had he not had the skill set to deliver. If it was just, you're the top, you're the white guy who was drafted, but you weren't necessarily drafted high. You weren't necessarily looked at as great. You got drafted by the Celtics and you're a white guy. Like, what was my man's name before Bird that they gave a lot of love to?
Collins?
Yes.
Collins.
And I'm going, skill set, was he as good as Bird? Hell no. But because Bird was so goddamn good, yeah, he lived up to it. So no.
But do you think it was fair in the fact that even the media and everybody put this extra attention on it, that he just wanted to be a basketball player?
Remember that somebody in the arena, when his first game before, as they introduced him, released a dove into the sky. They released a dove. You know what I mean? And when they did the interview with Red Auerbach, and the girl goes, "Is he the great white hope?" He's just a great basketball player. Period. Like don't hit us with the white hope. And even I love the story that Cedric Maxwell told when he goes, Larry Bird goes, yeah, the first time I went to the practice, all the players are talking. And Cedric Maxwell in particular, here comes the great white hope. Here comes the great savior. Here comes this. Here comes that. He goes, I loved it because I knew I had to play against those guys. And I was going to show him what it was. And Cedric Maxwell goes, man, white boy, let me see if this white boy any good. He goes, he first takes the first shot, bam. I said, okay. He goes a little bit further away from the rim, takes the second shot, bam. He goes, man, let me D this white boy up, man. This motherfucker. He takes it even further, bam. He goes, at the end of it, I went, this white boy could play. You know what I'm saying? So because Bird actually could deliver, I don't see it as unfair.
Yeah, I just thought that the media treated him. You know what? No, let me rephrase this. His mental ability, I give him to like almost a Jordan-like ability mentally, because all that was put on him, and he didn't just get to just be a great basketball player. He had to they put it on him where if he didn't succeed, he was going to be like the biggest bust ever.
But Larry's being a little slick here, because while he hates the great white hope thing, he also was cognizant of the race factor, because he would tell opposing coaches,
yes,
hey man, it's a disrespect to my game to put a white guy on me. You better put a brother on me.
Well, he just knew the black players are the dominant player in the league. There wasn't a white guy that was really going to match up with him.
But to suggest that a white guy could even with him was bothersome to him, because he's going, hey man, I'm just as good as the brothers.
Yeah.
So don't downgrade my game by putting a white boy on me.
That's true.
So even though he was like, he didn't like that monarch of, great white hope, he knew.
You know who was really cool in this though? In this episode is the Chief.
Oh, Robert Parrish. But let me go back a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you who it was unfair to. And the Lakers and Celtics were so dominant in their rivalry that who gets lost in this? Dr. J.
Yeah.
And Isaiah Thomas. Because and I love when John Sally tells the story where he goes, Magic Larry. But for 2 years, this team called the Pistons came and we shook shit up. But they don't get a lot of shine because Magic and Bird were so dominant. They said in the doc, which I didn't realize, they went, people talk about the Lakers-Celtics rivalry. The real rivalry was Sixers, Celtics, us and Dr. J. And, and listen, I know you're a Dr. J fan, and so I have to ask the question. To be fair, though, Dr. J, when he came to the NBA, he wasn't Afro Dr. J. He had the shortcut, which I'm saying that to say when Dr. J was at his most potent was in the ABA with the Afro.
With the Nets.
So had he come to the NBA back when he was in his Dr. JJ for real day, I don't know. Do Bird and Magic still dominate?
No, I think Dr. J was just when he played them at that time. He was just as good. That shot that he does from one side of the lane to the other side,
Right.
you know, that
Underneath the backboard.
Yeah, underneath the backboard, all in the air.
Yeah.
Other than Jordan, I don't know anybody else who could maybe pull that off. And I don't know Jordan pulls that off the way that he did it, not from one side to the other. Jordan hung in the air, but he didn't.
Yeah, but
like that.
but at that moment though, Dr. J wasn't as potent as he was in his ABA days.
Like-
he still could do that.
Yeah.
He still was nice, but he just wasn't. I would almost go as far as to say he was Dr. J. He was Wizards Dr. J.
No,
a la Jordan Dr. J.
I think he was better than that.
Really?
Yeah, I think he was better than that because he was still great. But I you know, who did he have? Who did he have? Until he got Moses, it was a different setup. He was
he won one championship.
Yeah.
Afro Dr. J doesn't win more than one championship.
You know, if he's on the right team, if he's
on the Sixers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that I think he was older. He wasn't in his prime. It wasn't. I think he was at the end of his prime. I don't think
Right.
I think he was still in his prime, but at the end of the prime.
Right.
He was an incredible basketball player and played the game with that kind of mentality that you need to play, but also the understanding of the way that the floor works. Just at a time when the NBA had a hard time and it wasn't being filmed the same way, it wasn't on TV the same way. Yeah.
But this is what I mean when you say that, where I go, dude, it's something other. There's something cosmic going on.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like the NBA wasn't. They say Bird and Magic saved the league. It needed them. It
did.
needed that. It needed the black-white factor. It needed the East Coast, West Coast. So that's why I'm going, there's higher powers at work here.
Well, yeah.
That's amazing.
That's why I'm saying that thing about Bird. Was it fair? Because I think it did need the black-white thing. I think that brought more white people back to the game because honestly, I think it was marketed as a black game, and that lost a lot of white.
I'm so glad you
eyeballs.
brought that up. So let me jump a little bit, not too far from where we're at because it's in the vicinity. I love when they interview the hardcore, and you can tell this is racist to his core. His tone, the gravel in his voice. When he starts out by going, I think it's turning a lot of white people off that, there's not enough white players in the league. I don't enjoy, and this is the part where I go, if nothing else defined you as, yeah, you racist, is when he goes, because I don't particularly enjoy coming to the game and seeing all black players. And I wrote down in my note, I said, well, then you know what? Tell your people to get better. Well, don't get mad because the NBA is dominated by black people. It ain't like they're going, we just letting black people dominate because we want to let them dominate. No, their skill set. Tell your people to improve.
Yeah, get
and
better.
then you'll see more of your people.
But do you really think it was because of the black people on the floor playing the game, or do you think it was black people in the seats supporting the teams that they didn't necessarily want to sit next to a black couple?
Well, when you say statements like that, it's got to be both.
I think so. I really do think so. I think that drove,
because if you enjoy the game, if you're really a fan of the game, why would it bother you to see players that are black? Aren't you enjoying the skill set, what they're doing?
I think it's because more black people are coming out to the games. And I think that they don't want to sit sit next to black folks. Listen, culturally at that time, man, those were they were worlds apart.
Yeah.
So I think I think that was the thing that wasn't said. I don't want to go see a bunch of black people. Is that where they didn't want to see the black people? Or because they watch them on it, they cheer when they win?
Right.
Or is it because the stands all of a sudden have black folks in it?
Yeah.
Now that was my question when I heard him say that.
But even that, I mean, I don't know what the numbers were, but even that, I mean, when the Celtics were thought of, particularly at that time, as an all-white team, because there was somebody that said there was a point in time in the 80s during the Bird era where your whole starting five could be white.
Yeah.
Kevin McHale, Bill Walton, Danny Ainge, Larry Bird,
Chris Ford.
So, to be able to say, and listen, when was the last time you saw that? Of five dudes all white on the court.
Well, okay, see, and this is where, like, I love the Celtics. I love Bird. But I think the reason I like the Lakers better at the time, especially when I'm younger, when I'm watching this and you get all the nostalgia going, yeah, the Celtics look pretty good. But I'll tell you why I know that I like the Lakers better. Because as you go back, you think about it as a kid, when when Magic beats the Celtics with that little
Hook shot, yeah.
baby sky hook thing, I was that was, and then I watched it this time, and I watched the Celtics lose, and I was like, oh, Celtics lost, But I remember as a kid, I was cheering that was
Right.
that was a great moment. But when I was watching him, I was like, why is this an all white? And I felt, I felt that all white team. Like it was
Right.
like, why is this team all white? Why is this the only team in the NBA? And that's when you hear the stories about Boston,
Right.
and now it's the only white team, but they could play.
Right.
But you're just like, why is this the only white team? Like it felt weird. It felt going as a young person,
Right.
going through it and seeing it on television. It felt weird. It felt
Right.
And I didn't know why it felt weird at the time, but as you get older and you look back at it, you go, it was weird. It was weird. Why did that team? It seemed like that was drafting for the city, but I'm not saying that's true. Maybe they picked the right people at the time. I mean, Ainge is a disruptor and a great player, and obviously a basketball intelligent brain.
Yeah.
But I hated Ainge when he was on Boston. I thought about Boston that way, and then he came to the Suns older. And was a great player.
That's
for
right.
the Suns.
He played with Barkley.
And he was
Right.
great on the team. He
Yeah.
was a disruptor. He was just a solid he was a beast, and he made people angry. And that's the funny thing. A lot of people think you play better when you're angry. You really don't play better in basketball when you're angry.
Right.
You can have more physical oomph, but you need your mental to be in check when you play basketball.
Yeah, I mean that one moment where Kevin McHale clotheslines Kurt Rambis, and Pat Riley goes. Even Pat Riley and Magic both said, when they did that, we started playing angry. We were trying to match them anger for anger, fight for fight, and that's when he took us out of our game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because they had the game up until then.
Yeah.
But now, when you watch that play, do you see it how? I mean, yeah, it's a rivalry. Yeah, you're trying to. But did you see him take him out, or do you see him try to? He puts his arm out, but do you see him try to grab him to stop him from falling, or do you see him?
I think it
just
was all
close
momentum.
It was momentum.
It was momentum. I don't think he went. Even Kevin McHale said it. He goes, I was going to foul him, but I didn't think you don't even do that.
Because Kevin McHale is one of those players that also is. I think was a great player and not forgotten in time, but doesn't have the same kind of shine that other players had because his game was if anybody looks like Herman Munster playing basketball, it's Kevin McHale.
And if anybody looks like the Blue Eagle from Sesame Street, it's Robert Parrish.
So, I mean, his game, I watched McHale, I watched the game that he played once, and the Duke could not miss.
Well, Charles Barkley always said, Kevin McHale is the greatest power forward I ever played against.
Unbelievable game.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have that same kind of shine because I think he played behind Bird.
Well, there was the moment where I think he scored
Oh, yeah. And then
something high
40
number,
49.
49, and Bird says to him, you sure you want to come out, Kevin? Because I'm going to beat that. And 2 nights later, he beat it.
But see, there's the difference of the psycho mentality. But see, this is the other thing. Bird isn't known as the psycho mentality. Jordan is. But
Bird had it.
Obviously had it.
No, dude, listen. I loved in The Last Dance during the All-Star game. And there's a moment where Magic, Bird, and Michael's playing. Those two obviously are retired. But Larry was the coach of the East. And Magic's in a suit. Bird's in a suit. And then Magic, and they're all in like this little doorway getting ready to head out. And Magic says, because Larry know I'll come at him the way I used to come at both of y'all. And Michael goes, and I just went, that's a photo. The 3 baddest, they all had that killer mentality. They all had it. And I went, those 3, it's like the 3 kings. The 3 of the baddest ever played.
You know what, though? This is the difference, though. There is a little bit of difference. Jordan and Bird, I think, had that I'm going to kill you mentality. I think that Magic had it, but his was, I have it. I don't want you to see it. I'm going to seduce you a little bit.
Hey, with that smile and he's fun and yay.
I'm going to make you feel like we're friends.
But an assassin.
I'm going to take Barkley out for dinner, and I'm going to tell him how great he is.
And I'm going to make him laugh, and I'm going to smile, but then I'm going to kill you. Whereas Michael... no, I'm gonna kill you. There's no smile. There's no playing with you. I'm gonna destroy you.
And I'm not saying
Bird too.
Yeah, Bird was that way.
Right.
But I think I think he's like he's Magic's. I'm gonna smile at you, make you feel good as I take your heart.
Right.
That was the difference.
Right.
That was the big difference between them. I just want to go back real quick, though, back into the early days. I know we had little racial parts in this that I want to talk. There's a part where I said it was like the all-black league. And even the announcers, there was one time when there was like a little skirmish on the court, and the announcer says, got some brothers woofing at each other.
But that sounds like a white guy who's cool.
I don't know.
No. That doesn't sound to me like when you talk about the father and goes, African handball.
Yeah.
You know where that's coming from. Brothers woofing, that just sounds
Like
like
he was trying to be, like trying to, yeah.
like a cool white dude.
Guy. Okay, I'll give you that. But it just sounded, because they're only little clips that you hear on this.
Right.
So it is not in context, like you're saying. So that is kind of cool that you heard it that way.
Yeah.
I heard it and I went, oh, that stood out a little bit.
Right. Episode 5 was great because James Worthy tells the story. Whether it's the phone call to James Worthy's hotel room, where he goes, "We're in Boston." Somebody calls my phone and said, "Larry's gonna kill you, nigga," and then hangs up the phone.
After talking to him for quite a few minutes.
Yeah.
Telling him how great he is.
Yeah. So that was the build up to. All right, I'm gonna call this. But I'm nervous, so let me talk to him for 5 minutes, and he's working himself up to say it because he could have just as easily called. Worthy picks up. Larry's gonna kill you. Click, which is how most of the time it's done. But you could tell that dude calling him was nervous, so he was trying to work himself up to
Tell
get
him
to
how
the,
great he was.
Yeah, just to call him.
And tell him Larry, the white boy's gonna kill him.
Because that plays back into the whole thing I'm talking about with the fans being able to storm the court. Again, it just, where was the protective measures taken? How do you even get to call James Worthy's room? How do you?
Well, that was because of Red, though. Reds, they put out.
Oh, you're right. Red would tell people where they were staying.
Well, he said, because of something, they're staying at this hotel instead. And, he said,
What an
they're
asshole.
probably. Dude, he did anything he could to get a little extra help. And he said they were fire alarms would go off. I don't know. The red. Would you want him? Would you want him as your coach if you had that? Would you want
of course, somebody? If as long as that person's on your side, you want that. But when they're not on your side, they're a menace. If Dennis Rodman is your teammate, you want that. If Draymond Green is your teammate, you want that. But if they're not, they're a cancer.
Dude, I forgot before we go off though too, because we're talking about the Celtics, the Garden. Dude, their practice facility. When Kevin McHale gets drafted and he goes, "Oh, we're gonna go do this," and it's at a church,
right?
Like a school,
Yeah.
and it was horrible. I like how they say,
the amenities today.
But not only today, but that team just never had them until they finally updated.
Well, they said in Courtship of Rivals, when you go to the Forum, there's the air conditioning. There's the what do they call it? The club afterwards.
The Forum Club.
The Forum Club, the cheerleaders. He goes, in Boston, you look at the pamphlet, it just says ball boy rolls out ball on the court, play game.
Oregon.
No cheerleader. It was hard hat. It was lunch pail. It was blue collar entertainment. The entertainment is the game.
I like when he said there wasn't even lockers. There's a nail to hang your stuff on the wall.
Right.
They show it. There's like a little hook.
Yeah. Dude, there was a moment I didn't know about where, remember they showed the clip where Bill Laimbeer had with Larry so hard physically. Oh, no, not that clip. The fight between Dr. J and Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Where he grabs his throat and they start punching. And Robert Parrish said, because I guess him and Bird, they weren't beefing, but I guess Parrish wasn't happy. And Bird said in the paper, if he don't want to be here, trade him.
Yeah.
We don't need him. And he goes, when Dr. J started fighting him, I didn't help him. And I wasn't going to help him because of that.
Yeah.
I'm going, was Parrish wrong for that? That's your teammate, man.
That's his moment, though. He had an emotional, maybe you play against Larry. You might love Larry, but Larry does things to instigate it. And Larry said some shit about you today in the paper. If you don't want to be here, don't be here. You're like, well, you don't want me to be here. Well, I'm not here. I'm not saying it was right, but at the moment, that's how he felt. And this is why I loved him in this doc. He was honest about everything.
Right.
And his, he's softened, but you can still see the toughness of who he is.
Well, he said it best. He was like, I was aloof. I didn't want people to know about me. I didn't want to, he kept himself quiet, away from people. So, he didn't give people access to him.
And that cost you money.
Yeah. I mean, this is why when I get into arguments with people about Jordan being the GOAT, and people always want to go, Kareem, what about Kareem? And I always, again, say, listen, man, from a scoring standpoint, from a dominant standpoint, yeah, Kareem. But the reason why Kareem was never the GOAT was because he didn't check all the boxes that MJ checks. And one of those boxes is likability, popularity, elevating the game. Jordan was so accessible to the media and so personable that it helped the popularity of the game, whereas Kareem was the opposite of that.
Yeah, exactly. He really was, and he knows it. And he
boarded mean.
He admits it now. Kareem does.
Right.
But, you can't change the character that you are just because you became famous. Actually,
Right.
I think it makes you regress further if you're not if you don't have that kind of personality. But that's why Stern, and this is why Michael's the GOAT. And I'm sorry, this is going to go off the rails here for a second because we brought Michael up. But I really thought about Michael through this as I'm watching this and the league and these guys have saved the league. And they did. They saved the league. But with Stern and Jordan, Stern saw the way to take the game global and had the person to be able to do that with. And I'm going to ask you this question because I know that sometimes we talk about LeBron. LeBron wasn't needed for that anymore. The game was already global. The game already had that. And Stern was at his exit, not his like, I'm building this up. Do you think that affects his GOATness for LeBron? Because he wasn't needed. He wasn't essential. Jordan had already taken it to that level.
Here's where let me unzip my pants, pull them down to my knees, and get ready to take this big steaming on LeBron. This is where I blame LeBron, because for this dude to have all the hype that he had around him out of high school, and for the most part, he lived up to the hype. For this dude to be as talented as he but he's 40 now, so he's declined a little bit. He should have taken the game beyond what Michael took it to. And he
on the floor.
On the floor, and he didn't.
Okay.
He hasn't lived up to that hype. And again, people, and I know we could debate all day, LeBron's the GOAT, Jordan's the GOAT. You have your GOAT, fine. For me, the record, there's only one GOAT, and it's Jordan. But part of that is because Jordan elevated it to a global level. You mean to tell me that for LeBron to have all this chosen, and he was labeled the chosen one, to come in from high school, all this hype, played, is his 22nd year? How long has he been playing? Whatever it is. He hasn't taken it to that next level. He hasn't taken it to the next level, whatever that next level is. So,
Well, I think that the same thing that I said, was it fair to Larry? I think that same, is it fair to LeBron? Because to have that on you as a high school, first of all, as a high school kid coming into the league without going to college, without getting any of that extra tutelage, testing out your strength and your body against you. When you're in high school, you're playing the best. Well, those high school teams are playing pretty much the best that's available at that age level. But then you go to college, you're playing another area of the best before you go into the NBA. He went straight from high school, the best that high school had to offer, to playing against men. And I don't think that is that fair to him. Listen, I still think Jordan's the GOAT. I think he's the best that ever will, because he was able to take it to a level that no one else has been able to take it to. Maybe there will be someone to take it past it, and that's where I agree with you. I don't think that LeBron took it any further than Jordan did, other than his body. LeBron's body is strong, has held up through almost everything that is gone at him. Now he's had a little nicks here and there, but that's a pretty, for how many years he's played. But this isn't also about endurance. This isn't about the longevity. It's about what you accomplish in the time that you're on the court.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel like as we discussed this, I was like, I needed to bring that in there just a little bit.
Well, let me add one more thing, and then actually this is going to be a 3-parter. But here's what's great though. So the third part will obviously allow us to finish this, but then we will have seen The Accountant, the sequel to The Accountant.
So we can put it all together.
So we can put it all together. But this is my last thing, and I love how they ended this because I always talk about, listen, as performers, you want to leave the crowd wanting more. You want something suspenseful to make you go, rub your hands together. Man, I can't wait to the next one. And again, I said in the beginning I was going to binge this, but I f***ed up and opened the bag and took a chip, and I went, I got to finish now. I can't wait. So this thing was so captivating that I just had to watch from week to week. But I wanted to ask you, so I know Dr. J wasn't in his prime, and Charles Barkley had yet to come into his own. I don't think Charles Barkley really became Charles Barkley to the Phoenix Suns.
I think he was done with Philly, but I think it was at Philly at the end of his time at Philly that he became Charles Barkley.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there going, so you would think that even with Dr. J wasn't in his prime, Charles Barkley hadn't come into his own, they still had Moses Malone. But wouldn't you think that with those three, that's a championship?
Barkley,
Dr. J, Barkley, and Moses Malone?
by this time, Dr. J is older, and definitely that's the Wizards' Dr. J. Malone is older, but
Barkley's young legs, but he hadn't come into his own
he
yet.
hasn't come into his own. He was still trying to. His conditioning was questionable, but still a talent, but not a realized talent yet. He had everything. He had everything, but he had again, and this is why I hate to go back to LeBron here, but this is why you come in from high school to do this. He came in from college, wasn't 100% Charles Barkley yet, and Moses isn't young, but a talent. So. No, I think it was really hard to put that all together. And you have to gel, too. We're talking generational differences.
That's mind-blowing to me about basketball because on paper, when you see certain names, you go...
Phoenix Suns.
you go...
On paper.
well, listen, you talking about the Barkley Suns?
No, I'm talking about
now.
it right now.
Right.
That on paper.
Right.
That's
Kevin Durant... What was
Booker.
And was it Beasley?
Now you can...
The shooter.
Yeah.
It's not Beasley?
No, Beasley. It's not Beasley. It's close. Just keep going.
Yeah, I was contemplating doing it because I usually could beat you.
Phoenix Suns.
Roster.
Yeah.
It's not Beasley.
Bradley Beal.
See, Beal.
Yeah, I said you're close, but
right.
you're
So
not.
Bradley Beal, Booker, and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Yeah, on paper.
On paper.
Yeah, dude, because on paper, I'm just going Moses Malone, Barkley, and Dr. J, like a legend, a young horse with talent in Barkley, and another veteran in Malone. But then they're going up against other monsters on paper.
Yeah. And now, and you know, people are talking about today's game, but even that game, the parity had started to already come up. Now we have great players on all the teams. Obviously, are the physical of the game, the mental of the game has all improved all the way around. And it doesn't happen. And this is what people, the young people that say this don't understand this, or maybe I'm wrong. You raise to the level of your competition all the time. So as the competition gets better, the people coming underneath are going to get better because they're coming up to that level. Like when we're talking about Kuzi could dribble with the ball out there because people weren't trying to steal the ball like that then. So people learned to get better, and so the ball got closer to the body, and so that you couldn't take the ball away. These are the things. It's not just that they're just physically better. The mental has come up, and people are learning the game in a different way. So the talent is better. Listen, man, when you take it to football, those big old linemen, the offensive linemen, Those are big, heavy dudes. They can't run. 10 yards is a big run for these guys.
Right.
But their skill level, the way they have to move their feet, the way that they turn, people don't realize that those little details are what makes that game. At the beginning of football, they weren't working on footwork that same kind of way. They're not.
You talking about in the leather helmet era?
The transition is also on the education and the way that we learn how to play, and then that brings that level up. And so those people learn that early, and when you learn it early, you have room to improve that learning. And that's where we are right now. This is why everybody is so good, but are they better? And this is why, is the NBA better today than it was in the 90s?
No.
Skill level, maybe some of the physical talent might be better, but is the game better?
I think
no.
that's so overhyped when these young go evolution. Evolution doesn't always mean better.
No.
And they sit there and they talk about, man, the evolution and today's players are younger, faster. Yeah, but they're not as durable. They're not as it's not as physical.
Well, no one was trained out of a school. No, there wasn't high schools that were built to make you basketball players back in the day when there was in the 60s and the 70s. A lot of guys had a second job. They weren't being trained to go to this next level. They work on Twitch now, Twitch muscles, so that you can be more like get off the ball, move quick. There was no Twitch school. There was no Twitch academy.
Them Twitch muscles also make them sit out quicker.
You have to have the whole thing, but there's certain people. That's why, again, I go to LeBron. The length of his career, he's a physical specimen that I don't think his physical specimen's ever going to be beat.
Here's what bodies that argument, okay? LeBron, he's bigger than Jordan, stronger than Jordan, faster than Jordan, played longer than Jordan, less championships, less success. So give me Jordan then.
I'm not denying that. I said the success is what happens, what you do on the floor. That's what makes you the GOAT. But I'm saying the body that he had, the strength that he had. You talk about Jordan's mental, but LeBron played hurt. He's injured. He gets beat up. That's another mental area to be able to play in. I can firmly say Michael Jordan, my GOAT. That's how I believe
And
it.
when you want to talk about a mindset, I saw a funny clip where, LeBron wears the moniker of LaFlop. They call him LaFlop. There's a moment where the white dude, I forget what team he's on, but he's nowhere as big as LeBron. White dude. He kind of barely hits LeBron, and somebody put a sound effects of because LeBron goes down and he lays down like he got shot, and then they play the song from Set It Off, day after day, and like it's a dramatic moment, like he just got killed. When the do you see Jordan doing that?
Did you see the one?
The peekaboo?
The one where he gets his head massaged a little bit.
Oh, I posted that one. Dude hit him and he goes.
Somebody walks over like he had a concussion.
Did you see the peekaboo?
No.
LeBron goes down and he's covering his face like this. And at one point, someone with the camera, you see him do this. Come on, man. This the GOAT?
Well, the difference is when Jordan was playing, you got hit.
Yeah.
You seriously got hit.
You got hit.
Like you didn't get ejected.
Pistons played hockey ball.
Yeah. Those Lambeer.
Come on, man.
I know we're off with the Celtics right now. We're going to get back into it, but on the next episode.
I'm gonna bookend it right now.
But yeah, that was a whole different kind of game.
Let me tell you something, man. The way they ended this with Len Bias, when they give you the little bit of hype, and then the reporter goes, yeah, I got a call from such and such, and he goes, hey, did you hear what do you think about Len Bias? And he goes, yeah, I think he's gonna be great. No, he's dead. Cut the credits. Dude. Black screen credits, Sopranos. I gotta see this next episode.
I was in Baltimore when I found out that he passed.
Right.
And it was like, he's an East Coast kid. Everybody was like devastated.
They say skill set, he rivaled Jordan.
They said
he was even better than Jordan.
He said that the only person who ever beat Jordan
got in his ass
was Bias.
Dude, I just asked this question, and the guy died because of
cocaine.
Cocaine. You're black, you're poor, You have an opportunity to be a gazillionaire, help your family, get out the hood, live a great life. Why are you doing cocaine?
Because I'm gonna do everything that you just said tomorrow. But today I got this pile of coke that I have never been able to have, and it's just gonna be fun.
So at no point is it dancing in your mind you could die.
No,
That's crazy.
No, you're not thinking about it that way. But I do. I'll just tell you, this dude I knew, he got in trouble, and I'm trying to remember if it was the day before, or the day after he got out of jail. Went in jail for a little bit. I think it's the day after, and he came home, and big party for him, and he took a little cocaine nugget, and he just popped it in his mouth.
He didn't sniff it?
No, popped it in his mouth. He was getting.
You could ingest it that way?
Yeah, you can eat it like that. It goes. You put it under your tongue, and it just goes right.
Dissolves.
Yeah. So it wasn't even that big. It was big enough. Dude had a heart attack because he hadn't been. You know, he was clean because it was after he got it because he was clean. Had a heart attack, died right there. So people even know what cocaine is, have used it a lot, know the whole effect of it. You just, the right time, right way, I should say the wrong moment, the wrong time, it got him. And, you know, I don't know how much we weren't there. We don't know how much he did or what was told, but they were all partying. It was a big moment. It was the 80s. I'm not saying that was a good idea. I'm just saying there was people doing it and they were looking like they were having fun. And you're a young kid. You got your boys. Everybody's around. You got drafted, and you know what the next thing is, and you're like, you just want to have fun for a minute.
I would think that if you're in supreme shape, as he was, young, your body's in shape, your body could take a hit. You know what I'm saying? Like you being in that great of shape and young, your body could take some.
You don't know how much he did. Maybe no one told him. I don't know. I really don't know. I never really saw it. This was probably not the most that I saw, but I read the articles when he passed away. But there wasn't a lot, and I was younger, and I was an idiot, and I was doing coke at the time. You know, I look back at some of the things I did, and I'm happy that I'm alive because we did dumb things. When you're doing coke and you're partying and you're having fun, I remember we had I don't even like talking about this because I'm not glorifying.
We love you talking about it.
No, but I'm not glorifying. I'm like, there's embarrassment that comes with this. I talk about it because it's the truth, not because I think it's being glorified. But you bunch of dudes, dick on your table measurement kind of things. You put a bunch of coke on, and we're all making these lines, and then someone says, "I can do a bigger line." I can do, all of a sudden we have half a gram and we're making lines out of it.
Okay, well at that point, why not just play Russian roulette?
That's basically what you're doing, and you don't even think about it that way because you're up and you're having fun.
Crazy,
dude. I honestly at that I think about that all the time because at that moment when we did that, one of us should have died.
Let me tell you something. As much fun as I had, and as good as it felt, and it felt good, there are times where I go, I'd like to revisit ecstasy. But I'm too scared. I'm 50 now, and I just go, nah, don't around. But it felt so good at the time. There are times when I just go, I would like to try X again. But nah, yo.
I had such a weird X experience. I don't know if I should save it or tell you right.
Save it for the next one.
Yeah, save it for the next one. It's a funny story. It's not a bad story.
Let me ask you this one question, and then we can exit out of here. And the idea of the excitement, and I think this is what was such a blow to the Celtics organization in the city, was because Len was so anticipated to be this dude.
He was the baton handler.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we talking about still the nucleus being Bird, Parrish, and McHale. Throw Len Bias in there. A young... This nigga is just as good as Jordan Bias. Does the Michael Jordan era happen?
Yes.
It still happens the way it happened?
No.
Two three-peats from 91 to 93?
Maybe not, because you have to still build a team. But the thing that they had was they still had their core, plus they were going to be able to start replacing members of that core with people that they were going to bring in and bring up. So it would have been... it was the implosion of the Celtics. I don't know that it changes. I think the rivalry between the Celtics and
The Lakers?
the Bulls, though,
Oh.
because now they're competing to get out of the East. I think that would have been an amazing situation.
I tell you, this is why I'm saying the basketball gods, the cosmic energy, whatever. Because I'm going, Jordan was such a force, and he's considered the GOAT. He was such a game changer, elevated it to global status. It almost felt like, listen, Len Bias didn't happen. So, and you said that began the implosion. Is that the word?
Implosion of the Celtics.
Implosion of the Celtics. 90, whatever it is, 2 or whatever, Magic announces HIV. So you can say to yourself, if Len Bias doesn't die and he's with that nucleus, if Magic doesn't have to retire because of HIV, it seemed like the Jordan era might not have been what it was, because you still got the 2 powerhouses in Magic and Larry.
Yep.
But now you've added this badass in Len Bias, who knows what the Lakers may have done. But, the cosmic energy went, it's time for the Jordan era. Now, I'm not saying that's why Len Bias, he did coke. And Magic, went to town with his dick. But, you know what I'm saying?
But, the other thing is, if Len Bias is reaching, comes into the league and plays incredible, does Jordan go number 3? Or does he, or because now you're looking at a new way to play the game when you see Jordan, how he's playing. So now when you see Len Bias playing, now you have to match up with what Bias is doing. So does Jordan go number 1 and goes to one of the, what was the teams that drafted ahead of him? They were West Coast teams.
Portland.
Yeah.
Like they got Sam Bowie.
Yeah, maybe he's in Portland. And maybe now we have a rival, an East and West Coast rival.
But then if that happens, do they get Pippen?
Who knows? But
Exactly.
maybe someone else.
This is why I'm saying the cosmic basketball gods just went,
Yeah.
Look, Larry, you had your run. Magic, you had your run. Make way for this new kid.
So who knows? Who knows? But I think that could have been incredible if it was Bias and Jordan battling out for who's the best ever. Anyway, I'm gonna give you some quick dates, and then we got to run. Let me give out these dates.
So we're leaving this off. This was part 2. There will be a part 3, which will be the finale of the Celtics talk. And we are going to combine that with a movie I definitely want to see, and I'm excited to see The Accountant Part 2 with Ben Affleck.
Okay, guys. So you're listening to this. We just got we were at the Magoobies, and it's going to be May 16th through the 18th. Funny Bone in Richmond, Virginia, and then we're in Buffalo, New York. It's going to be the beginning of the. How would I say that? It's the beginning. It's not in Canada, but it's right there at the edge. So it's the beginning. It's the edge. May 22nd to the 25th, we're going to be in Buffalo, New York, followed by May 26th in Bella Rose Arts Center in Halifax. In May 27th, the Olympia in Montreal, Quebec. May 28th, Bronson Center for the Arts in Ottawa, Ontario. May 29th, at the Regent Theatre in Oshawa? Yeah, I don't know, Ontario. May 30th at Danforth Music Hall in Toronto, Ontario. And May 31st, we will return to the States at the Wilbur Theater in Boston. June 6th through the 8th, we'll be at the Louisville Comedy Club in Louisville, Kentucky. And June 13th to the 14th, we'll be at the Funny Bone in Omaha. Guys, you can always go to ariesspears.com. You can check out the dates there. And like he said, we're going to tag this one on. This one's going to be, we'll have to call this one Celtics Halftime.
I love it.
See?
And then we'll call the third one Celtics, the final buzzer.
The buzzer beater.
The final buzzer
The
sounds
final buzzer,
better.
I like
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Well, unless we can mix something in with the accountant.
No, that it's going to be the accountant and the final
Final
and the Celtics.
Yeah, but it would be cool if we can tie an accountant in there too. We'll see what happens in the movie.
All right,
Could be kind of cool.
I put it on ice.
Okay. That's what's going to be called on ice.
Ice. It sounds like we're talking about hockey then.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's the show.
Oh my God, kid, you're giving me a third chance to pull out my creamy cock and shoot a load. I can't wait. Oh, God, a three-parter. Her name's Bobby Patterson, by the way.
Spears and Steinberg.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. For more information on where to find us on the internet, visit SpearsburgPod.com.